of this great hour of sadness and adversity, we can build a better, finer Detroit for all of its citizens. Thank you.
She stumbles through the field. She can't see, though she tries.
We're in Detroit right now, and Detroit has had a number of problems, not unlike other major urban areas.
I think if you cared to look across Detroit's neighborhoods, you would find that they are more stable today, that there's more activity going on today, and there's more hope for tomorrow. In this country, black people are victims of racism. It's not accidental that the cities around the nation that have the largest percentage of blacks have the largest percentage of poverty, have the largest percentage of crime, have the largest percentage of unemployment.
This is just sort of the status quo here. The expression has been said that, you've heard of the horrible road of poverty. Well, for many people, this is where that road ends, right here in Detroit.
That's pure propaganda. Neighborhoods collapsed because half the population left.
There are some things unique to Detroit. For example, this was a major migration center for African Americans in the South. When the auto industry back here was king and people began moving up in the 20s and the 30s and 40s, enormous populations of African Americans came up to Detroit. Now, because there was such a prosperous economy here, owing again to the auto industry, one of the things you don't see very frequently around here are actual apartment buildings. Certainly not like you'd see in New York, for example, or Chicago or any of those things. It's because the middle class here was doing so well that everybody could buy a house. The auto wages were very good. It was a desirable place to come, even though blacks were treated, certainly in some cases, not as well at all as white workers. The wages for many people here were extremely good for what they were doing.
Frequently called the most cosmopolitan city of the Midwest, Detroit today stands at the threshold of a bright new future.
The United States Olympic Committee has chosen Detroit, Michigan, as its nominee for the 1968 Olympic Games.
One of the things you'll notice here is the tremendous blight, like that building right there. You can see the grandeur that used to be Woodward, which is the street we're on right. This is the main drag going down Detroit. Woodward and Detroit used to be one of the most prosperous cities in the world. Today, ramshackled, torn down, decayed, rotting structures. Not everywhere, certainly, but in many areas of various large population centers in the United States, what you have is a decent city with pockets of poverty and despair and bad neighborhoods. Here it's sort of the other way around. There are some pockets of prosperity here and there in an ocean of urban blight, violence. Detroit is the 5th most violent city in America. We've just turned down something of a random street on our way to the location of where the Detroit riots broke out July 23rd, 1967. At that point, it was the worst riot in American history, urban riot in American history, and still, even 50 years later, still ranks in the top 3. 400 businesses looted and burned to the ground. I mean, the whole place became. They had to call in the National Guard. They had to bring in the 101st Airborne, the 82nd Airborne.
We've put in about 300 state police and about 600 National Guardsmen in the area.
It's on this spot right here that a nightclub in Detroit, they would call them blind pigs. It was a reference to the cops, they called them pigs, were just sort of blind to it. They would, corrupt cops would take money, pay off money to let these after-hour nightclubs exist and not raid them. Well, this one got raided. There were about 85 patrons inside, and the Detroit police showed up. So very, at the time, still is, but at the time, a heavily black neighborhood, black businesses, everything else. And it was actually a relatively somewhat prosperous area compared to other parts of Detroit. While they were waiting for vans to show up to take out the 85 patrons for illegal drinking and all that sort of thing because of the hours, crowds from the surrounding neighborhood started forming, and a few hundred of them got here. And just as they were taking the last patrons away, the crowds started throwing bottles and the whole bit, and it didn't take very long before the entire area was ablaze. Thank you for watching The Michael Voris Show. If you'd like to watch the entire episode, please head over to churchmilitant.com and sign up as a premium member. If you need to sign up to become a premium member, go to churchmilitant.com/go premium.